Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show on Tuesday, April 15th, known as the greatest day in our nation, Tax Day. Hopefully you did those early or got an extension. But we're not here to talk about taxes. We're here to talk about football. That includes Derek Carr and the mystery surprise shoulder announcement and maybe who that was leaked by and why it was leaked and why both sides seem so giddy about it. Because they seem like they really, really do not want to be working.
They're very happy that he has this horrible injury.
You know, they are including Derek Carr himself.
Yeah, I mean, right. He's cool with it.
He's very cool with it. So we're going to talk about Derek Carr. Then we're going to talk about the NFL draft 2025 with our friend, the expert, Eric Froton. He's going to tell us about things like Tyler Shough, who I didn't know existed until a day ago. We're actually making him talk about that. That wasn't his idea. One of our other ideas talk about Shedeur Sanders, of course. Just kind of, what's the deal? What's the deal with Shedeur Sanders? Is there a third quarterback Eric thinks could maybe go in the first round besides Mr. Cam Ward and Shedeur? That is if Shedeur even goes in the first round. Maybe Jaxson Dart. Talk about the receiver class and how, probably can't match last year's group, but how many, might come close to matching last year's group. The top three running backs, maybe the expectations for Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland. Are they too high after what Brock Bowers did last year? That's all in about 10 minutes. First, we're going to talk about what we always talk about on the show. That is golf, Denny.
Yeah.
Denny always makes us talk about golf. No, this was my idea. The Masters Sunday, about like as high as sports drama can get.
Absolutely.
Especially since what I can't get over about the 2025 Masters is how kind of everyone wanted this to happen. I feel like almost like willed it into existence. Like there was this expectation for weeks, like it's going to be Rory's year, maybe.
Yep.
And then it was finally Rory's year. But listen, I have to say, if he had messed up that putt again on the 19th hole, that would have been a classic. Like, I don't know if you know like this meme format or just kind of like this internet feeling. But if he had missed that, my feeling would have been enough. Like, listen, man, I rooted for this for I don't know a long time, 5 or 6 years or whatever.
Yeah,
you're good versus evil of live golf, but enough. Like I'm done. All right, like you had your chances. I'm moving on.
So we have to be honest about what Rory McIlroy did on Sunday, which was try desperately not to lose.
Yes.
At no point did he try to win that tournament. He ended up winning, which I'm happy for. I'm glad that he can get that monkey off his back. That's awesome. It's been 11 years since he won a major. It's great. Also, he sort of accidentally won it. Like he was trying to lose that thing. He hits the greatest shot I've ever seen in my life, curving the ball 40 yards around a tree to hit it to 6 feet for eagle, and then Pat doesn't even try to make the putt.
No.
Okay, like clearly. His goal was, I'm going to 2-putt it from here, which is just the most loser energy you could possibly have in any sport. Forget about golf, in any sport. So I don't know really what's going on with him. I thought on the 19th, you mentioned 19th, I thought, okay, he's going to have to hit this dead if he's going to win this thing, because there's no way he can make a putt outside of like 5 feet right now.
Yeah, so the Rory, listen, I don't play golf. I only really watch the majors. I do watch some of the other non-tournaments. Sometimes I get in the groove. But, as a casual golf fan and viewer, one of my thoughts is always like, all right, let's get this moving. Like when they're standing on the greens and, and refusing to putt. Like Justin Rose at one point, like got out a telescope. Like, dude, just hit the ball, man.
Justin Rose takes forever to play. Now
he was doing everything. But then my thoughts with Rory were, dude, I would maybe take a little more time. Like he was just getting up there and putting. Like, dude, you're putting like I would. Like I would at least like get down on the ground, like army crawl once, like with my binoculars and look at the whole lot.
Yeah, you're not playing mini golf with your girlfriend on a Friday night, Rory. You're trying to win the Masters. And Justin Rose, despite being a great elder millennial, takes way too long to play golf.
He's Gen X. He's 45. I'm not calling him an elder millennial.
44.
Don't try to get Justin Rose into your peer group. He's not. Don't try to get Derek Carr into your peer group, New Orleans, because he doesn't want to be. Seems like he wants out. Seems like they want him. I still can't get over. So, okay, we get the late season Derek Carr injury where he tried to like hurdle 3 guys for no reason and like injured like every single body part. They never listed the shoulder. He did injure his shoulder in 2023. His shoulder didn't get listed on this like fateful late season attempted hurdle that went so horribly wrong. But we don't hear anything about it for 4 months. Then a random Friday, like Friday afternoon in the middle of the spring with 2 weeks to go from the draft, we mysteriously learned, season's in jeopardy.
Right, yeah. He's out.
Yeah, for the year. You didn't know that? That's kind of weird.
So according to all reports, both from like Saints beat writers and national reporters, is that the team was well aware of this injury and was deciding.
They've never been more aware. We knew. To insinuate that we weren't in the loop about this is.
Are you saying that that's not they didn't know?
Well, I'm saying that I don't know if anyone actually really knows, and that the whole thing is really weird
because
they probably knew.
I think they knew, and they were like, okay, we're going to keep this in house, right? And then Derek Carr, according to Diana Rossini of The Athletic, she said, in all likelihood, this rumor or this report came from the Carr side of things. And so it would seem, as you mentioned off the top of the show, that both sides are happy to part ways. Like he's hated his time there. They clearly are not thrilled, according to, like you mentioned in your video on demand yesterday. The Saints X account doing the eye emoji.
Can't get over this one
on a report that says the Saints could be in the running for a quarterback now that Carr's out for the year. They did the eye emoji like we might be out of this thing, folks.
No, seriously, that was again. We can maybe sometimes, especially in April, get accused of like reading too much into things.
Yeah.
When I see a team eyes emojiing, it's like a report. Their quarterback's gonna miss the entire season, and then the Twitter account gets the go ahead. You can do the eyes emoji. It's fine.
Yeah, right.
Like do the eyes emoji. I mean,
just don't do the party emoji.
Yeah, don't do the party emoji, but the eyes emoji, that's fine. Like, wow, there's maybe some bad blood here. If the eyes emoji go ahead has been signed off on. I mean, is it fair to say 0 snaps for Derek Carr? I mean, I feel like the financial ramification. It seems like he's gonna be like he sits at home in 2025.
Ooh,
like he's not going to get traded. He's not going to play. Kind of seems like he's going to sit at home. Is that your sense too? Or
that would, I mean, I know they owe him like the GDP of Brazil, but I mean, they got to find a way to get him somewhere. I mean, he could start for like 8 teams.
I think his salary situation is so, I mean, and supposedly I almost feel like the shoulder thing is like their quiet way. Like very unfortunate that we got to pay you all this money, but we all need this to be over. And maybe it's almost like a gentleman's agreement. Like, listen, we have no choice but to pay. Yeah, they cannot. Oh boy, can they not cut him?
Really?
No. And I don't really. Yeah. Oh boy, they cannot trade him.
Okay.
They cannot. They trade him. Actually, the U.S. government takes possession of the team.
Right. The federal government runs the Saints.
Yeah. He's not tradable. He's not cuttable. This almost just seems like, this is not working for anyone. Let's all move on with our lives. Because this is clearly the Saints have been delaying their post Drew Brees reckoning for 5 or 6 years at this point. Like even when he was there, they were delaying it.
Right.
He got him to the playoffs, but like they weren't working on the succession plan at all. Like this is a team that just kept running back the same plan that got like 20% worse each year. And I think it's finally Derek Carr knows they're not winning anything next year. The Saints know they've kicked this can probably as far down the road as they possibly could at this point, and it's time for everyone to move on.
There are worse teams than the Saints. Also, there are no teams with a lower ceiling than the Saints.
True.
Like
zero ceiling.
No ceiling. Like
the ceiling, if they're lucky, is 10-7 negative point differential, lose in the wild card round.
They get every bounce. Okay. Everything goes their way this season, every single thing, and they win 10 games and they lose by 40 in the first round. Like that's the best case. And the worst case, they win 5 games. And I think that's what Derek Carr is probably realizing.
So it just seems like nothing has ever been more over than this. And we'll get into the fantasy implications if and when they get a new quarterback, which could happen as soon as 9 days from now. It could happen as soon as 90 seconds from now. Is Eric Froton joining us to talk the 2025 draft. We'll be right back after this. The free NBC Sports Now channel is your home for NFL Draft Month with more than 100 hours of programming throughout April. Daily coverage includes PFT Live, The Dan Patrick Show, Chris Sims Unbuttoned, and Fantasy Football Happy Hour. Plus, tune in for NFL Draft ranking specials with Connor Rogers and updated mocks premiering every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. For more information, go to NBCsports.com/now. And now it's the fateful moment where we welcome in the expert, our friend, Eric Froton, Mr. Draft, who, boy, listen, Eric, Denny and I'm like, tell me 5 good receivers. And Eric's like, what about 25 good interior defensive linemen? I'm like, I don't care. But someone has to know it. Thankfully for our website, rotoworld.com, you know it, because I'm not like a whole draft aficionado. I'm just a skill guy, but so many people are so into all of it. I've never known anyone who has a firmer grasp of the entire picture of you. You're writing almost all of our pre-draft profiles that will be live on the site in 10 days. And the positions that I couldn't do: offensive line, defensive tackle, safety. So just an invaluable source of knowledge. But yeah, we're going to ask you about the skill guys today. But how you doing as you take a poll? Well, I can only assume there is a keg, the largest water bottle I've ever seen in my life.
It's my hand keg, and it was requested by you that it makes an appearance here on the show. And I want to make sure I got it out of the way quick because, gosh, we really needed to move on from that David Carr talk. The only time I want to hear anything about cars is if it involves Rick Ocasek and Ben Orr. Because as everyone here listening knows, I like the nightlife, baby, and so does Denny.
Yeah, Denny. And
it wouldn't be a Froton segment if an 80s song was not referenced. So I'm glad we got that out of the way. Thank you, Eric.
That's right. Sorry, Zoomers.
A bonding point for Denny and Eric and Rick Ocasek. Long may he run. Yes. He left this world too soon. I think it's like 5 years ago already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, him and Ben, both long forgotten, unfortunately. But that catalog, pristine.
You know what? Real quick, not to take us. We got a lot to fit into a short amount of time, but an end of the innocence moment for me, a loss of innocence, was when I found out other Cars people sang in the Cars, and it wasn't just Rick. Because like some of those songs, they all
Ben Ocasek. Ben Orr was anytime. What Rick Ocasek said is that anytime he needed somebody who, like, with actual vocal talent, he just gave the song to Ben, and that's why. Who's going to drive you home tonight? That's Ben Orr.
Maybe the best song of the 80s.
It was the end of the innocence for me when I found out that was not Rick Ocasek. End of the innocence for
end of the innocence. Yeah, Don Henley reference here. We are really booming today, guys.
Talk about the end of the innocence for a lot of casual draft followers when they get hit with the idea that Shedeur Sanders might not be a first-round pick. He probably will be a first-round pick, we think, Eric. Any illusions of going in the top 3 have long since been abandoned. But the Derek Carr injury we're talking about kind of like got the engine revving again, or he might go in the top 10. The New Orleans Saints at number 9. Is that like an actual likely outcome? What do you think is the most likely outcome for Shedeur Sanders? Does he end up falling into what I call like the Derek Carr memorial spot in like the first 5 picks of the second round? Or does he go in the first round? Where do you think he might go? He's like the guy taking up the most draft oxygen this year. There's always someone. What is the deal with Shedeur Sanders heading into?
What's the deal? Indeed, my friend. Yeah, in terms of 9, it's funny. The market had actually set Shedeur like a week or two ago at, obviously, pick number 8.5. So it was right on that line anyways where it was going. That is looking like a pretty comfy over at this point. I have doubts about him going to New Orleans at number 9. It would feel like a real knee-jerk sort of, hit the panic button sort of a move if I'm the Saints. I mean, personally, I do think that they could probably look at the Will Levis / David Carr spot in that early second round. Exactly what
you mean Derek Carr spot. You keep saying David to further date yourself.
Guys, come on. There's 2 of them.
The David Carr spot is, of course, number 1 overall.
Yes, that is number 1 overall. But the reason why I say David Carr is because in my college fantasy football league that I've been in for the last 25 years, he went undrafted in our first draft, and now the best undrafted player award every year is named the David Carr Award. So that's why he still permeates in my lexicon, because we give out the David Carr Award every year. He's more relevant to me than Derek. So that's why.
We're bleeding Zoomers right now.
We're bleeding them. I know. We're bleeding them. My offense. So with Shedeur, it's the circus factor. We saw when it went over to Colorado. I was actually lucky enough to see him in person, UCLA, Colorado last season. This is 2023, which was, frankly, the most under siege I have ever seen a quarterback in my entire life at any level. That offensive line 2 years ago for Colorado was an abomination. And they were playing UCLA, which had the pass rushing Murphy brothers and Liatu Latu, who was a first-round pick, and they just absolutely thrashed them. So I watched him. He got absolutely destroyed that game. I encourage you guys to go back and watch. But, you can't take away from him his accuracy. I mean, 81% completion rate with a clean pocket, and that's really what the NFL teams are looking for. It's sort of the Bo Nix model is where you see him winning. And I know Denny loved.
So Denny's in shambles if you're comparing him to Bo Nix. I think Denny wants Shedeur to be a bust.
No.
Compare him to his guy,
I'm saying that's the path to success is the low ADOT, sort of accurate, system quarterback. But is that what you're really getting with Shedeur?
Don't let Denny respond.
I had to listen. If Bo Nix had gone number 3 overall, I would have said that's a bad pick. But he didn't, so I'm okay. Sanders going at some point is fine. I just don't think number 3. I think that's kind of crazy.
To be drafted. The top 10. So you're not really taking that serious. You're taking the under on top 10.
I'm taking the under on top 10. Yeah, absolutely. When I did my first mock draft, I'll have my next one coming out later on this week. I had Dart going to the Steelers at 21. I mean, somebody's going there. So if Shedeur slips, I think it would probably be him.
Are you willing to bet money that Shedeur would go in the first round?
I think he will. I think, as you mentioned, the Derek Carr spot there in the top, in the second round, you could see somebody try to move up there into the back end of the first round so you can get that extra year of control.
Teddy Bridgewater memorial spot then at number 30.
The Teddy Bridgewater, yes, absolutely. I think that is a little more likely. I'd want to have the extra year of control if I was teams. You know what I mean? If you're going to go and try to get him. Given the outrageous, pay raises we're seeing with some of these quarterbacks here, I would probably try to go in that direction. I think that's probably the likely outcome.
That does seem like the most likely outcome for me and Mr. Shedeur too. And it was easy to forget. I feel like we talked about it all the time, but I really do. I'm sure maybe the quarterback invited some of it on his own, but the Colorado protection in 2023, you really did have to be there, to see it. It was one. Oh. The only other time I've ever seen it that bad was maybe some of the Matt Barkley years at USC, where there were several games where I saw Matt Barkley. They say that was his 17th sack. That doesn't sound right. And then they would confirm it was his 17th sack. But Shedeur, this will not be the last time we talk about him. We've talked about him a lot, but he is the man of the hour in NFL draft talk. But you mentioned Jaxson Dart. People are really trying to make Jaxson Dart happen, Eric. And if we allow that Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are going in the first round, that's 2 quarterbacks. Is there a third quarterback that will go in the first round? And is it Mr. Jaxson Dart? How many quarterbacks do you think are going in the first round? And will Jaxson Dart be one of them?
Gosh, that's a good question because, as we know, Jalen Milroe, I would say if it's Shedeur Sanders is one, man, Jalen Milroe is getting a lot of talk over the past week because there's only so many guys who get invited to the draft. I think we have 17 is the list right now, maybe
only
18.
17. Yep.
17. She's only 17. And when we're talking about the, Jalen Milroe getting invited there, sending up signal flares, of course. So while I do like Dart, and there's a lot to like, obviously the Ole Miss gimmicky system that we saw, and it's sort of
it's not
artificially
artificially
inflated Matt Corral a few years ago. Who could forget that catastrophe?
Neither Tennessee nor Ole Miss play real football, but it's fine.
It's true. But man, you got to love Dart. It leads the class, 11.9 ADOT. He takes shots down the field. Number 1 in the country by a significant margin, 10.7 yards per attempt. Number 2 is Cam Ward at 9.5. And then when he's under pressure, a 17.5-yard ADOT. He's a big game hunter. And I respect that, of course. But then when you're looking at Jalen Milroe, there are definitely areas to nitpick in his performance. But it's not about what he is right now. It's about the athleticism and the tools and what he can be. You got to remember, you had 3 different OCs over the past 3 years. Nick Saban retires last year. In comes Kalen DeBoer, right? Major changeover over there at Alabama. And you could see it, right? Because there were good things and there were bad things about that changeover. He cut his pressure to sack rate. Dude, he had the best improvement, I would say, in my opinion. He had a 32% P2S rate last year. 2 years ago in 2023, which is, I mean, it's almost impossible to be that bad. This year cuts it in half to 18%. I mean, really, really good in that front. But, the interception rate, he had 11 interceptions. You watch some of the games and he looks lost, he's not reading the defenses. But then you go back to the Georgia game last year where he was magical.
He was. I
mean, simply amazing in that Georgia game. And that's what scouts are really pointing to, saying, what if we can harness that? The incredible athleticism, good rocked up frame. He can run whenever you need. And they didn't do it much with him last year, only when they needed to. It's funny. They took the blueprint to 2023. In 2023, he ran for 100 yards, I want to say twice, against Power 4 opponents. It was against Auburn. It was against LSU. Last year, new coaching staff. Kalen DeBoer's in there. It didn't matter. Used the exact same playbook that they laid out with Tommy Rees and goes, and he runs for over 100 yards in each of those games again this year. When it is in, to the advantage of the offense, they can use those legs. And you see how devastating Jalen Hurts can be with the legs and how effective Lamar Jackson is with his legs. And I think that, that tantalizing upside is why he will be in Green Bay. And, what more can you say? If he's getting the invite, he's one of the 17. Maybe he's that third guy and it's not Jaxson Dart.
Yeah, I keep saying to Denny, I feel like we're crazy to just overinterpret one data point so much, but I just feel like you cannot overinterpret enough getting invited to the draft. That means the league, the advisory board, thinks you're going in the first round. And Milroe and the legs, the running quarterback is one of those things will soccer ever be popular in America? Will running quarterbacks ever truly take off in the NFL? But we're here now where not only are running quarterbacks, a part of life in the NFL, they're really just kind of becoming the norm. You almost just have to have a running quarterback and someone who can actually make things happen with your legs. Denny's going to ask you, I have to ask you one follow-up on Jaxson Dart though. Am I right to just be totally out after seeing I saw him play more than once? But I made my draft opinion on Jaxson Dart, where I believe it was the Florida game, where his final 14 attempts were all either interceptions or he wanted them to be interceptions. I can't remember if it was LSU or Florida, but it was this. All this kid is trying to do is throw picks. I'm out. I don't if his relative athletic score is good, if his stats are amazing, if his interviews are amazing, I'm out. I've never seen someone crumble in a bigger moment of a game to this degree. Am I crazy for this take?
No, maybe there are no crazy takes when it comes to evaluating quarterback prospects to the NFL. You know what I mean? But I will say with Dart, he is a plus athlete too. He ran for 1,000 yards in high school. He has the ability to create outside of structure. But what really concerns me about him is it's first read, second read, freak out. He rarely gets to his third read.
Second read, pick. It's pick.
Pick time. Third read, hair on fire. So that is the thing to me, is how far and deep can he get through those progressions, and can he really make that intellectual leap, I guess, from the very basic system they're running at Ole Miss to the much more complex reading of defenses at the NFL level.
I have a incredibly stupid anecdote that I want to share about Jaxson Dart, and that is being in New Orleans for the Super Bowl, turning on the evening local news every night. I was there and seeing at least one segment on why the Saints needed to take Jaxson Dart and keep him in the Gulf Coast area. Okay, so he's like a product of the Gulf Coast. I'm telling you, these New Orleans anchors, they didn't care about any crime, weather, nothing else. We just get Jaxson Dart in a Saints jersey. And I feel like I can't stop thinking about that. Now that Derek Carr is out, I'm thinking Dart ends up in New Orleans. But that's just my dumb anecdote.
I love it, Denny.
It's a good anecdote. By the way, Denny likes to claim he's an elder millennial. You were definitely of a different generation if you're watching the evening news.
Correct.
You're in a hotel room. You're killing time between.
Here's what I do with the TV in the hotel room. I don't.
Gen X, baby.
You don't turn it on?
No, don't turn it on. I can just get on my phone and immediately start scrolling.
Oh, well,
that's what the hotel's for now.
Doom scrolling, Pat. Yeah, Doom scrolling. Yes,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, the scrolling has never been more doomy. So I wanted to ask you about Tyler Shough, who
another
is a
elder
guy,
millennial turning 46. this
Yeah,
year.
And if anyone tells you that Pat and I had not heard of Tyler Shough before 48 hours ago, they're lying. Okay, we've been talking about this guy for years. 7 years in college football. 7, not 6 or 5, but 7.
Wiley vet. Wiley.
Oregon, 3 years at Oregon, 3 years at Texas Tech. He didn't do anything at either school, right?
He did do one thing. He got injured a lot.
He did get injured a lot. Louisville last year, he throws 23 touchdowns. So what? And 6 interceptions. So what? Why? Diana Rossini of The Athletic says today that multiple head coaches have told her that Tyler Shough is the best quarterback prospect in the entire class. Tell me what's going on.
Shut it down.
Well, he's, what I think the appeal of him is he's huge. And this is sort of a, average size QB class. And he's that big battleship that's tough to bring down, has the big arm, of course. And I think there's just something that happens when you go to a Jeff Brom system, be it the David Blaus and the Aiden O'Connells of the world at Purdue, and now here we are, Tyler Shough when he's at Louisville. Like, there's something special about what Brom can do. The QB whisperer effect of him being able to run like a little bit more of a pro-style offense and be able to fit guys that have that skill set, and he kind of goes after them to put them in there and put them in position to succeed. And, he was pretty good last year. There's no way to take that away from it. A 9.3% pressure to sack rate, you can't get him down. He was also really victimized by a mediocre pass catching group. 9% drop rate. That's by far and away the most in the 2025 class. And he's better without play action than with play action. So these are all really good metrics that you like about it. What is not a good metric is I actually had an interaction with Tyler Shough a few years back.
Well, no offense to you, but you were in the same high school graduating class.
We did. Yes. And I might have more hair than him still at this point. I don't know. I think that's probably likely. But yes, I actually know with Tyler Shough for the 50-teamer college fantasy football league, the vaunted college football fantasy football championship, I was going out and reaching out to different players to pull our draft order, right? So naturally, why wouldn't I reach out to Tyler Shough to pull a draft order for the Big 12 when he was at Texas Tech? It's natural. So reached out to Mr. Shough. I saw that he was on Cameo. Hit him up, said, I'll double your fee. Double your Cameo fee in order to pull our draft order for the Big 12. It'll take you less than 60 seconds. And you can get double your fee, and everybody has a good time. It would be pretty cool. It'd be a nice thing. And he's like, yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. How about $1,500? I was like, Tyler Shough, a businessman, Tyler Shough. So I was like, wow. A little too rich for my blood, Tyler. We're gonna have someone else pull that draft order. I ended up
a GoFundMe for that one.
Yeah, we literally had to do it. I was passing around the hat. I was out there with the Salvation Army can ringing the bell outside of my local grocery store. Yeah, but unfortunately, that was my interaction with Tyler Shough. We regrettably did not get him to pay. Could not come up with the $1,500.
Right.
But he was still very nice via DMs when I had to politely decline. So I am a bit. I would say, I'm not a Tyler Shough guy.
No, right,
well,
right. Okay, so what you're saying?
You go.
I've been burned. Yeah.
He's 6'5", 225. So what you're saying is, Eric, that this guy looks like a quarterback.
Yes.
And that's it.
Oh, yeah.
And teams fall in love with that. You know who else looks like a quarterback? Will Levis looks like a quarterback.
He does.
Will Levis doesn't look like a quarterback. Will Levis looks like a bodybuilder. That's his problem.
You know who else did? Blaine Gabbert looked like a damn quarterback.
Boy, Gabbert.
Blake Bortles, anyone? Blake Bortles?
Bortles, yes. The only two things, I'm not drafting you. If the two things I know about you, you're about to turn 26. And you led the nation in throwaways. That's the only other Tyler Shough stat.
And he had some doozies too when he was run out of the line. There was one that made its rounds on Twitter where he literally just sort of like flipped it. One of the most amazing, and it almost got intercepted. He was about to go down. He's going down, and he just hucked it over his head. That was a hair away from being intercepted. I have my doubts about Tyler Shough. I understand the physical stature and everything is the prototype, and that's really what they're looking at. But you got 1 year. One full year out of 7.
I was gonna say, listen, 1 out of 7 ain't bad.
I mean, maybe he's so big, he's just a big target and is just, consistently getting injured. Maybe he's not elusive enough. I don't know what it is, but I mean, I have my sincere doubts about Tyler Shough's ability to be a complete NFL quarterback, and I don't think he's a first rounder personally.
I have my sincere doubts that we could continue the quarterback conversation. We'll be back with more positions right after this. Saturday, the Premier League run in is live on NBC and streaming on Peacock. It's a crucial match for European qualification when Ollie Watkins and Aston Villa host Newcastle. First kick is set for 12:30 p.m. Eastern. And that's why you read the promo before the show, before you read it live on air. But, and I botched it. I'm not English. I'm American, even though I do love the Premier League. I love wide receivers in fantasy. Only position any of us even draft anymore. We draft one running back per year. That's Ashton Genty this year, obviously. A receiver, we haven't talked about receiver nearly as much this year. Last year, we got like a 2014 level class, just fantasy contributors, like as far as the eye can see in the 2024 receiver draft class. No one is even pretending the 2025 draft class is anywhere close to that good. No. Doesn't seem to be a particularly bad class to me, Eric. I don't know what your perception is, but just how many rookie wide receivers do you think will be starting in 2025 fantasy? You can kind of ballpark that, but just compare this class to last year's draft class at receiver.
No, there is no comparison to last year's draft class. Yeah. Get that out of your mind. Good luck finding a Lad McConkey here. An elite space creator type guy. There's only so many of those, but I think that it's going to be workable here in terms of. You're just not going to get the Neighbors and the Thomas and the McConkey. That just ain't happening. So many startable guys last year. It was really kind of an outlier. I think maybe you get 3 or 4.
So maybe 3 or 4 guys that you think will be starting
this year.
Yeah.
This year, it's going to be tough, man. I mean, because it depends on the size and depth of your league, how many guys you're starting. Is it standard 10? Is it 2 wide receivers? Is it 3? How many flex spots? Like, these are all important caveats here. The deeper the roster, the more you're going to have them in there. Maybe call it a handful, call it 5. So, and a lot of that's going to hinge on how many snaps does Hunter play on the offensive side.
So you think we'll be starting Mr. McMillan, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think so. Sure.
Mr. Hunter, probably. Are we starting Matthew Golden in 2025 fantasy?
The Golden Boy with his 4.29. I think it's in play. He isn't that complete prospect that you'd really like to see from a guy who ran the 4.29. Like, didn't really have too much of an impact in Houston before he went and transferred to Texas last year. And even with an Isaiah Bond who was injured and compromised and had questionable hands and questionable ethics, still didn't really dominate the way you'd expect somebody that is in contention to be the first receiver taken dominating. That being said, he did close pretty well down the stretch in the big games. He made some incredible catches. But I do think that if you look at the overall tape, you don't see this fully formed wide receiver 1 right out of the box. This guy's going to go out there and dominate. And that's kind of my concern about projecting Golden is, how much of the low yards per route type stuff will correlate, because you want to see your top receivers being as productive as possible in college.
Are you open to the possibility that Travis Hunter will absolutely not be fantasy relevant in 2024?
Oh my gosh, here we go again.
2025.
I don't want to believe it. I love Travis Hunter as a wide receiver. I don't want him to play a cornerback. Obviously, we're fantasy guys and we're selfish, and I'll freely admit it that I'm selfish and I have Travis Hunter shares in C2C because obviously I roll in the campus to Canton and you all should too. But I think that with what we're looking at and the teams that are around that area, they need playmakers.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Did you think the Cleveland Browns don't need a playmaker?
They
need a playmaker.
My issue is not that he's not good. It's that he's such a good defender. His second highest graded Pro Football Focus cover corner last season in all of college football. And then there's this. I got to read you guys this John Harbaugh quote. They were asked about Travis Hunter will he be able to play both sides of the ball? Deion Sanders says easily. In fact, the game will be too easy for him. John Harbaugh said this on the feasibility of a two-way player in the NFL. Quote, to say that you're going to be completely immersed in everything that there is to know on offense and defense, I don't know if there's enough hours in the day for a player to be able to do that. You certainly can do it, I would think, on one side of the ball and then have some sort of package on the other side of the ball, which is my guess as to how teams are going to approach this. So I kind of think we're going to have a package of Travis Hunter plays, and it could be cool for real football, but for fantasy, I think it could be a bust.
I want 65-35. I want 65% on the offensive side. And then in passing situations, third downs, you bring him in. Because what do you want to go and put him out there and run support for? You want him out there tackling on the edge? No.
I agree. So what do we get? We get a 30 to 40% route rate. Okay. And that's not fantasy viable.
If you're special, it is.
I want 60. I want 60%. That's what I want.
The Harbaugh quote is true, by the way, but this is one thing I hate about modern athletics and modern sports is like being special is just not good enough anymore. Everything has to be a full-time job. Like, we're like, really? It's got to be a full-time job learning the corner assignments, I guess, or all the corner back blitzes. It just seems like we've made it more complicated.
I'm not going to pretend to have some sort of insight on this, but I just found that interesting. It's the first time I've ever heard someone say maybe someone can't play both sides of the ball in the NFL.
Well,
yeah. Haven't we learned from Shohei Ohtani that anything is possible in this day and age?
That's true.
Denny's just a hater. So that's receivers. We're not getting 2024. That's a shame, but that's typical. 2024 is the outlier, not 2025. Running back class looking pretty solid. I feel like we've had some not great running back classes the past 5 years. There's been one or two mixed in, but has not been a good run for running backs. This year, Ashton Genty, the best running back prospect in at least several years, maybe 10 years or more, depending on who you're asking.
Bijan's there too.
That is Omari. I was about to panic. Omarion Hampton, right? What's Omari's last name?
Omarion Hampton. Yep. Omarion coming.
He's in the 10 to 14 range, maybe more a top 20 than that. They're the top two running backs. There we go. Eric holding up a card from Mr. Omarion at UNC.
That's right.
Who is the RB3 in this better than we've seen in recent years running back draft class?
Dude, I think it's a number 2 situation. I think it's Omarion and it's TreVeyon Henderson. I love TreVeyon Henderson.
Yeah.
I loved him since he came in Ohio State. He's so explosive. My gosh. They just get him in space. He's like, he's bigger than Gibbs. He doesn't have the jets that Jahmyr Gibbs has. Like, that is just really one of a kind, even though he's around that 200 pounds, and TreVeyon's, 205 to 210 is really what he's looking at. But man, he is so explosive. And they were able to kind of bring in Judkins in and having him do a straight 50-50 split really preserved him this season, because the real concern with him is just wearing down, and putting him between the tackles, because he had gotten banged up each of the previous 2 years. So with Judkins coming in, really doing the heavy work between the tackles, if you can pair him with somebody that's a pretty dependable short yardage back type, man, you can put him in the right position and get him, the 12 to 15 touches a game. I just think it's happening. I think he is going to be successful. He's going to hit home runs. He's going to be productive. He's simply too good. The big knock on him is just kind of, I guess, the vision. You hear that refrain on him is that he doesn't ferret out yards as well as some of the other guys in this class. But I mean, if you watch the Iowa game from last year, which Iowa's got just an incredible front, they're always very, very solid on defense.
Jenny doesn't watch the Iowa Hawkeyes football for religious reasons.
I don't blame him.
Too much defense.
There's a lot of Well, at least they got rid of Kirk Ferentz's nepotism son, Brian. So they had a much more productive offense this year. See Caleb Johnson, obviously, but you watch him against Iowa, because I like to watch guys against the best defenses we can. And he did a pretty good job finding some holes on the outside. A couple of them in particular, I just remember being like, wow, he's coming of age. It's year 4 from him. I feel like he's coming around a little bit, and that he is right there with Hampton for me at that 2-3 spot. I think it could go either way. Obviously, Hampton has all the physical attributes that you're looking for there, but I don't see the instinctiveness as much out of him either. I think it's both kind of the same thing from them, is the instinctiveness. And with Hampton, he didn't have the offensive line to work with that TreVeyon did. Obviously, it was pretty much Willie Lampkin, who's 5'10", was their best offensive lineman. He didn't even get an invite to the combine. So, they both had sort of adversity things to deal with, but it's an easy call with TreVeyon for me as that number 3.
The Steelers very into Henderson and have invited him for a top 30 visit. Beat writers, including from The Athletic, Pat, help me out. The Athletic beat writer for the Steelers.
And the beat goes on.
On our show, Mike DeFabo. Sorry.
Mike DeFabo. I'm so sorry, Mike. I totally blanked there. But Mike reported that the Steelers are interested in taking a running back. They don't, obviously they parted ways with Najee Harris. I would not be surprised if Henderson lands in Pittsburgh.
This might be a really, really stupid take, but TreVeyon Henderson, I almost think Ohio State is getting into the zone. Alabama did some years where they have so many good prospects, including even good skill prospects, that we begin to underrate them almost because it's like are they just good because it was Alabama, or it's like he wasn't even the number 1 running back on his own team. He wasn't even the number 1 receiver on his own team, and I could see people sleeping on TreVeyon Henderson just for that reason. We're there's just always so much talent coming out of that program that really good players kind of fall through the cracks because other people are getting more of the hype. But very interesting take on TreVeyon Henderson. We got time for 2 more questions. We tight ends because we're talking about how we're not getting last year's wide receiver class. We're not getting this year's tight end class because this year's tight end class does not include Brock Bowers, but it does include Tyler Warren. It does include someone named Colston Loveland, who I've been studying him literally nonstop because I always study the tight end 2 nonstop in every draft class. Are expectations too high for these guys? All kidding aside, Eric, especially Mr. Tyler Warren, who have a late bloomer for Penn State. Are expectations too high for these guys because of Brock Bowers, or are expectations high because they're really, really good prospects?
In fairness to Tyler Warren, he's playing at tight end U over there at Penn State and split reps in 2023 with Theo Johnson, who put up a near perfect relative athletic score and a lot of 12 personnel.
Season that translated to
a monster rookie season over there in that potent New York Giants offense. I mean, who couldn't succeed there?
Yeah, look at all the talent they had around him.
Just so much, right? They had to force feed Malik Neighbors, right? But in his defense, it was him and Theo Johnson, and then when he got the full, it's his show this year. Oh my gosh! I mean, as you guys have seen, he's getting carries. Not a couple carries. He's got a lot of carries, like Jalen Samuels level carries. So let's go to the way back
near the goal line level of carries for Tyler.
Yes, exactly. And who doesn't love that for fantasy purposes? And I mean, not only near the goal line, he was running Wildcat, the everything. He was in everything. I was actually fortunate enough to see Tyler Warren in person have, I would say, the greatest tight end game of the past decade against USC when he caught 17 passes. At Penn State was down 21-10 at half. I was on the field for this game. Caught 17 passes and running. Just, I couldn't believe what I saw in my eyes when I was on that field watching him go. It was really a sight to behold. Anybody who wants to get a good look at what Tyler Warren's capable of, watch that USC game. I'm sure it's out there on YouTube, no problem. So I'm a big fan of Warren, and he's full-sized. So he's not coming off the field like Loveland will, who's in that 240-pound range. He's going to be in the 260 range for Warren. He can block, like you said, he can run. He's going to do it all. He's going to be that fully formed tight end who does it all and never just comes off the field. You can flex him. You can line him up at the Y. You can find him go all the way out. You can do so much with Tyler Warren. But that being said, you look at Loveland, incredible catching the ball outside of his frame. Has the fluid, easy movement frame, as you know, Pat, you've been watching him. Just the fact that you want to talk about bad QB situations, Saints, Giants. Oh, you had nothing on Michigan this year.
No, you really you
had nothing. Starting a walk-on, starting Alex Orji, who's now over there in UNLV. He can't throw a forward pass. They couldn't throw a forward pass.
Big Iowa Hawkeyes.
I'm not exaggerating at all. Watch his first 2 starts until they had to pull the plug and put a walk on and be like, no, we can't. I don't care how athletic you are, Alex Orji. So He was just going against the grain there this year, but still, it just means he had to make more ridiculous catches and extend for bad passes all over the place, which makes him even look better in my eyes, So he will be flexed out a lot more. He doesn't have quite the versatility and just that full, complete profile that you see out of Tyler Warren. But man, I like Loveland too. I think they're both easy first-round caliber weapons and guys that you want to have in your fantasy league. I'm seeing them in terms of the dynasty stuff I'm watching. You've seen them go, Warren around 7 to 9, and then Loveland in that 11 to 202 range.
That's cool. I'm glad that you think he's a legit prospect, and that we could actually get 2 pretty cool tight end prospects this year. We're lucky to get 1. A lot of years. Yeah. You mentioned being on the field, by the way. I'm surprised I haven't been watching. Like, you're at a game, it seems like almost every week. I'm surprised I've never seen. Is that Froton?
I'm out there. Yeah. LSU, USC.
At the big house for some reason. I've never seen that.
You never know. You can't miss me because my hair. So you'd be like, let's just say I stick out. I don't exactly look like the other people out there. You can always.
You're 6'7" and you have long, glorious blonde hair. So it's
6'3.5", 210, and a absolutely monster on the block power forward. Come at me.
I've witnessed this. I feel like.
Yeah. All right. We have one more question. One last question for you, Eric. What is the team you're most intrigued with in the first round of the NFL draft?
Like, who do you have to see pick on night one?
From fantasy, a fantasy perspective, because this is a fantasy show. The Bears would be for me.
Yes.
Okay. I want to see Genty go to the Bears and have Caleb, have Genty, have Adunze. You got DJ Moore. Like, get Komet, fine. I want to see the Bears have that full Death Star offense and see what they can do. Put it all together with the young bucks they have out there drafted in the past 2 years and let them fly. So that would be, even if it's not, Genty going there, there's going to be a running back that could go there, and their value will increase relative to where they are pre-draft. My dark horse, if they can't get Genty or they don't go the Hampton, Henderson route, I'd love to see Damian Martinez there. Just my favorite sleeper running back down the board a little bit. I think he's being slept on. Him and RJ Harvey are 2 of my faves. Give me a good landing spot for Damian Martinez and watch that guy's draft stock rise.
All right.
That's a really, really good one. Yeah, I mean, you're getting me excited for the draft in general.
That's what we're here to do.
How is it still? It's still 32 of 32 of teams owning their own first-round draft pick. I truly never thought I would see this day. I wish we'd had time to ask you about down ballot guys. That's something we normally do with Mr. Eric. That's something maybe we should do after the draft. We'll have you back.
Yeah, bring me on. I mean, I work here. I'm not going to say no.
So we'll bring you back on after the draft to get some of the more down ballot guys. Day 2 or 3 guys. We'll do that in May, Eric. We'll book that right now.
I love it. Those are my favorites. You know that. I love the down the board guys. Those are my college fantasy heroes that I want to geek out on. So yeah, don't sweat that. I'm always in for the down the board guys.
So we'll get Eric to talk about the Damian Martinez's of the draft next month. For now, you can check out his updated top 100 big board. How many receivers did you have in here? You had 3 in the top 32. Luther Burden at number 32. Interesting.
I know. He's a tough eval, man. It's because he breaks tackles, but even though he breaks tackles, he was 40th in yards after catch. It's so many things moving around with him, and he doesn't do much downfield. It was Theo Weiss who was doing that work on the outside.
So good.
He's a manufactured touch guy, but he's explosive. I'm fascinated to see how he plays out.
Luther contains multitudes. Eric Froton contains multitudes. That includes the top 100. That includes essentially all of our pre-draft profiles. We thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and for all the work you're doing. Yep. Hope you're going to get those in, right? By the way, no, you always do.
Yeah.
No, you always do. You truly have never missed a deadline, despite the hundreds and hundreds of profiles to do. So, Eric Froton,
I don't miss deadlines. No.
Thank you so much for joining us, Denny Carter. Thank you, as always. I'm Patrick Daugherty. Thanks for listening. We'll be back on Thursday with our friend Kyle Dvorchak.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Rotoworld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.